Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off talking about Nintendo Switch emulation on Android with Strato, and the release date of Strato is just around the corner. Now this information comes right from the community tab on Easy on the Eyes YouTube page. I'll drop a link to it in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. She posts a lot of videos on testing out NetherSX2, Strato, Undertale Remastered, and even more. So she says here, speaking of Strato's release, we've announced that we are on track to release sometime later this month. This means before December 31st this year, you will be able to use the app and try it out for yourself. And on top of that, for those of you who have a Mali GPU, she says here, before release, you should have a Mali showcase. And this is to get an idea of the improvements to better bring Mali and Adreno closer together in terms of graphical compatibility and overall performance. So there you have it. By the end of the month, we're going to have another Switch emulator on Android. And for those who may not be aware, Strato is the spiritual successor to Skyline. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. And speaking about Mali, next up we're quickly shifting away from Mali and towards Adreno. If you've got a Snapdragon CPU, you might be interested in this. The latest Mesa Turnip driver version 24 revision 12 has just dropped. And I should rephrase that and say drivers. There's 3 of them here. So the first included driver is the standard one you know and love. The second one here is the aggressive Turnip driver. It may offer more performance and stability. And the third driver here is the aggressive Turnip driver, offering possibly more performance and stability, as well as beta extensions. It comes with beta Vulkan extensions. And they say here it may fix and or cause issues. Now I think this goes without saying, but these drivers are going to perform differently on different devices. You may have to experiment around and see what works best for you. And speaking about seeing stuff, next up here's a YouTube video you may want to check out if you're interested in learning things, or the Game Boy, or 3D, or Super Nintendo, or even Star Fox, I guess. It's called Eclipse, the demo that sold 3D to Nintendo. It's by the Video Game History Foundation, and it is very educational. It's a game that was found 17 years later. On top of that, while Eclipse is just a prototype, it's up on archive.org if you wanted to check it out and learn more about it. I'll drop a link in the description below. This is the game that shaped Star Fox. And speaking about game preservation, next up we're talking about Wonder MIDI. We talked about this game about a month ago, I think, when it was up on Yahoo Auctions. It was going for a pretty penny. It's a very, very rare game. And fortunately here, the game has been dumped. To be honest with you, Wonder MIDI might not be as exciting as something like Eclipse, but at the same time here, from a game preservation standpoint, this is a big win. I'll drop a link to it in the description below in the event that you wanted to learn more. Next up, we're quickly talking about Kali Linux. And if you like Kali and you've got a Raspberry Pi 5, you're going to like version 2023.4. So as of this latest release, they've got support for the Raspberry Pi 5. They've even got a dedicated image for it. However, they are considering it a beta state right now. Not everything is fully fleshed out, and there are some bugs, so you'll have to be patient with it. And speaking about patience, good things come to those who wait. Next up, we're talking about the Steam Deck and Skyrim. And the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Special Edition Creations Update patch notes has some very interesting information in it. While you can already play Skyrim on the Steam Deck, it's not Steam Deck verified, and that seems like it's going to be changing pretty quickly here. Bethesda says Skyrim is now supported on the Steam Deck. Furthermore, here on PC, they've got various console improvements, macro support, and support for ultra-wide monitors. And speaking about PC and Android, next up we're talking about Minetest, and Minetest version 5.8.0 just released. For those who may not be aware, Minetest is a free and open source voxel game creation platform. It looks and plays very similar to something like Minecraft. Anyways, here the new version of Minetest no longer ships with the default game. The default game is called Minetest Game, and a lot of people thought that's all Minetest had to offer. Minetest has a whole bunch of different games you can download. And you can still download Minetest Game, but you can also download the others. On top of that, there's a brand new settings GUI. The Android controls have been overhauled, and the audio has been improved. You may want to check out the latest and greatest version of Minetest. At the time of filming, it's version 5.8.0. Moving on, and we're quickly talking about something that's more of rumor and speculation at this point, and that's the Nintendo Switch Mini. According to some patents that were spotted, a Nintendo Switch Mini may be under consideration. According to the patents, it's not going to have detachable Joy-Cons. It's going to be something similar to a Switch Lite, but possibly a little bit smaller. Although we don't have a whole lot to go on right now, I'll drop a couple of helpful links in the description below and feel free to check them out. I'm assuming here this Switch Pocket or Switch Micro or Switch Mini or whatever they're going to call it is probably going to have the current gen Switch internals in it, maybe just in a smaller form factor and more attractive to new buyers. I don't know if this is going to get the updated treatment that the Switch 2 is going to get. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Next up here, we're talking about some Android gaming, and NBA Infinite has just been announced. This is an officially licensed game releasing sometime in 2024. Unfortunately, there's no gameplay in the trailer, but I'll drop a link to it in the description below. But speaking about gameplay, next up we're talking about Devil May Cry Peak of Combat, and this is a mobile game headed to Android and iOS. Today they showcased 38 minutes worth of gameplay and information. If you are curious about this one, the game is launching on January 10th and links in the description below. Moving on, and we're still talking about Android and iOS, and Goat Simulator 3 has just dropped. It's available for both Android and iOS, and it looks interesting. It's worth pointing out that Goat Simulator 3 isn't that cheap, but interestingly enough here, it hasn't even released for PC yet. It's coming to PC in 2024. And speaking about indie games, next up here is a quick heads up if you've got an Xbox. It's now the game demo Winterfest, going from December 5th to the 31st. And there's over 30 games here on Showcase that you can play demos for, and they're all indie games. Personally here, there's a few of these games on my radar, including New Star GP, which I think looks very interesting. And speaking about interesting, next up here we're talking about Retrohub, and Retrohub just released version 1.0.0. For those who may not be aware, Retrohub is a free and open source retro gaming library front end. It's built on Godot, and it's available for Windows, Linux, and Mac. At the time of filming, version 1.0.0 is the latest update, and it's also the first official release. It was previously in beta. With this one here, we've got a whole bunch of bug fixes and some brand new features, including adding support for 30+ emulators. I do recommend checking out Retrohub, and like everything else in my videos, the link will be in the description below. It's available in both 32 and 64-bit versions, and massive congratulations to the dev team for their first official release. And speaking about first releases, next up here we're talking about Windows emulation on Android with Mobox. And we talked about Mobox yesterday, and I was very skeptical about this one. Number one, it's not open source. And number two, I analyzed an APK on this GitHub, and it did contain, well, it possibly contained some viruses. They may have been false positives. Anyways, here in that video, I asked if people had more information to let me know about it and help set the record straight, and a lot of people reached out. Apparently here, Mobox is absolutely fine, and those viruses are more or less just false positives. I still don't recommend this because it isn't open source, but at the same time here, if you did want to check this one out, I'll drop a link to it in the description below, and I guess feel free to check it out at your own risk. Now, I'm not saying that Mobox is bad. However, it does contain open source stuff, and they have closed the source, and that part I'm not necessarily cool with. Anyways, here some people are saying that it's better than Winlater, and some people are not. If you've used it, let me know in the comments below what your experiences are with it. And speaking about free and open source, next up we're quickly talking about Simple Mobile Tools, and it appears that Simple Mobile Tools has been sold to a questionable company. On Reddit here it says Simple Mobile Tools bought by Zippo Apps or Zypo Apps. The website on the Play Store links to Zippo Apps, an Israeli publisher that releases not so nice looking apps. All the apps are now marked to include ads. The support email was also changed to zippoapps.com. And interestingly enough, if we take a look at Simple Mobile Tools on Android, it says a group of simple open source Android apps without ads. However, if we take a look at the individual apps, this is where things start to go a little sideways and don't necessarily match up with that description. So Simple Music Player is free. It says it doesn't contain ads. However, Simple Gallery Pro is paid. Simple SMS Messenger contains ads. Calendar contains ads. Draw contains ads. Contacts contains ads. Gallery contains ads, and I don't think I need to go any further. Now, fortunately, these apps are on GitHub, so someone might just fork them and continue on that way. Anyways, if you wanted to learn more about the situation, I'll drop a link to Brody's video in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. It's very informative. And speaking about informative, last up here, we're talking about Twitch, and it appears that Twitch is pulling out of Korea. According to this post right on Twitch, Twitch will shut down in Korea on February 27th of next year, so pretty soon. The whole reason seems to be operating costs being very, very high in Korea. In my opinion, this may have a big impact to the gaming industry in Korea. I mean, there are some streamers who make a living off Twitch. Will it open the door for other streaming services? Probably, but at the same time, if operating costs are expensive in Korea, it may hinder some of those other services. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.